Hey everyone, it's Lakin again. I am here this time with some information about shadow work. So I run a shadow work course and I teach a shadow work course, and I have gotten a lot of questions about what is shadow work, how do I do it, why is it important for me to do it. So I just wanted to come on here and make another video kind of explaining what this is and how it can help you. So the first thing is, what is shadow work? So shadow work is the practice of working on and healing your shadow self. What is your shadow self? So actually, psychologist Carl Jung coined the term shadow work and brought it to Western medicine. He described it as the unconscious or disowned side of our personality. Spiritually speaking, the shadow is any part of you that you do not see, acknowledge, or accept. So I like to kind of give an example of what a shadow self, like how it's created, what happens, and what it is. So when I talk about the shadow side, I like to recall a story I heard about a little girl. This little girl was always really outspoken. She had a lot to say, and she always said it very proudly. She's very boisterous about all of it. One day when she was speaking passionately about something very important to her, her mother stopped her mid-sentence and said, "There really isn't any reason for you to be so upset about this. It's not that important. Tone it down. You're being dramatic." So the little girl stopped speaking out about what mattered to her. Whenever she did choose to speak at all, her passion was diminished. She was too afraid to be dramatic. Her feelings needed to be toned down. She lost her passion. It became a part of her shadow, and she avoided it because she had been made to feel shamed for it. We create our shadow when we push away parts of ourselves that are unacceptable to those outside of us. Understanding how our shadow work fits into our psychology is really important, which leads me to, how does the shadow affect our spirit? For this to make sense, we need to understand that in a spiritual sense, we are powered by the 7 chakras. The only thing that we really need to focus on for this understanding is that each chakra has its own level of consciousness. They're like little spinning wheels of energy that affect us both spiritually and physically in the long run. So coming back to the little girl who lost her passion. When she was reprimanded for being too much, what did she do? She got quieter. She started to form a block over her throat chakra. This little spinning force of energy that was once open was now slowing down and losing power. Over time, this block was not... Oh my goodness. Over time, this block not only stopped her passion and drive, but also caused her to stop standing up for herself. Her needs, wants, and desires, and who she really was, began to fall away. She began to just go along with others, even if she was uncomfortable. She didn't want to be too much or too dramatic, and her passion and desires were no longer important. So why is it important to work on your shadow self? Well, for the obvious. I mean, she's affected by it. But there's more. Shadow work is important because until we understand what our shadow represents in ourselves, we'll project that shadow onto others throughout our lives. Like the little girl who lost her passion, for example, her projections started to become making fun of other people for being passionate, being less outspoken about her own beliefs, feeling jealous about those who were able to maintain their passion throughout life, and judging them for the way that they went about it. She would feel triggered by the person who could do what she could no longer bring herself to do. Because of her own pain and her shadow side, when someone would come up and be really excited about a new project that they're just starting, and have a lot of passion about it, the little girl, now older and most likely unaware of why she's acting this way, would do her best to diminish the other person's power and passion. It came out as hatefulness when really it was jealousy curated from a negative experience she had had as a young girl with someone important to her. Until she acknowledges why she's reacting this way and learns to forgive herself for allowing someone to dim her light, this is going to cause her to react in a way that's hurtful to other people and herself. Ultimately, not only did this shadow side hold her back, like I said, but it also started to project onto other people and make them feel bad about their own passions because she felt the need to put them down when they were passionate. It's important to acknowledge, accept, and heal our inner child and shadow self so that we can move forward as we once would have before we were hurt. And so that we don't continue to project our pain onto others. So projection can be boiled down to a judgment you make of someone else that truly reflects on your own inner turmoil or your shadow side. When you're triggered, a trigger is simply something seemingly small to others that heavily impacts your ability to think or act rationally and how you react. The best way, this is a really good question that I get all the time, and a lot of people really struggle with this. So how to recognize your shadow? The best way to recognize your shadow is to pay attention to how you act and react. If someone does something and you make a quick judgment without knowing the entire story, that's probably your shadow self judging them based on what has happened to you in the past or what somebody has said or done to you in the past. It's not difficult to recognize your shadow once you realize it exists. Anytime you make a judgment on someone else, it often reflects on what your shadow side is hiding from you or what you have chosen to put in your shadow and ignore. Also, any heavy judgment of yourself, if you are like constantly saying things like, I'm just so stupid, or I'm not good enough, or why is this always happening to me? Those are all heavy self-judgments and will come from your shadow side. It's often difficult for some people to work through their shadow side and accept and acknowledge those things, which is why I started and created my shadow work course. I wanted to give people a guide and a practice to be able to work through things a little bit easier. I've taken quite a few different shadow work courses, and not one of them had everything that I felt was needed to be completely proactive about working through your shadow side. So I took a bit of information from each one of those courses and kind of added my own opinion into the full, to make the full package. In my opinion, it's the full package. So I also, throughout my shadow work class, do offer an individual private Facebook page. So anybody who comes to one of the courses, say I have 6 people in my course, in my class for the day, only those 6 people that have been in the course will be in the Facebook group. So it's very private and it's very individual. And I did it that way so that people didn't feel like their business was all over the place, but so that they could feel comfortable in an environment to ask questions. It's not something that you need to overthink. It is like 9 times out of 10, shadow work is the first thing that pops into your head when you realize you're struggling or you realize a judgment. That's something that you would work on. You don't want to try and be too in-depth with it. You kind of want to break it into little pieces when you're first starting so that you have the ability to practice. I mean, the more you practice, the easier it gets. Eventually, with that practice, doing shadow work is going to become like a second nature. You'll do it as your day goes on. As you make a quick judgment, you'll be like, oh man, I wonder why I'm doing that. And then you'll think about it and you'll work through it. I just wanted to make this video to kind of help people understand. And I really, really hope that this has helped you guys to understand. And I want you to remember that, it might not seem like a big deal to you to work on healing yourself. But as you heal, you project that healing instead of that pain. So the more you're projecting healing and love and acceptance, you are bringing other people in to be able to feel comfortable on working on their shadow side. And the less people we have that are projecting and triggered and hurt and scared and upset, the better the world gets. So I really hope that I can see more people in here for the shadow work class. I think it's a very important start for a lot of people on their healing journey. And I think it's really important to do the work. I think it's really important to bring light to the darkness in a sense. And as we heal and as we grow, we cause others to heal and grow. It's like a chain reaction and we just make things better. So come and see me if you want to start with you and help make the world a better place. Thanks for stopping in. Bye.